And yes, we are already live. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Debra Eckerling, book proposal specialist, goal strategist, author of Your Goal Guide and 52 Secrets for Goal Setting and Goal Getting. You can't reach your goals on your own. You need your people. So every week, I bring together some of my people to chat and basically let you watch. And in honor of today, it is Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you.
Mm-hmm.
You might be watching this as GoalChat Live. You might be watching the replay or listening to us on the GoalChat podcast, which comes out later this week. So it is Star Wars Day, but we will call it Star Wars Week. We're talking about sci-fi and fan appreciation. And if you're listening, maybe you want to go and watch the YouTube video or watch us on LinkedIn or Facebook, because I can just tell my guests today they've got props, and I will give them props. See what I did there? I'm never funny when I'm trying. Anyway, I'm Debra Eckerling, your host and non-funny person. Today I also have with me Jonathan London, and Jonathan and I, we met years ago. We're still trying to figure out how, but we were
telling you that's how we met.
Yeah, I'm going to.
Very entertaining to watch, though.
Yeah, well, this is the whole point. We get to hang out and let other people watch.
The way the sun was setting, the water on the beach. I mean, that's how we met.
Oh,
also on a panel.
Anyway, we were on a panel again a year ago, January, with our buddy Kevin, who does all the digital LA stuff, and I'm like, so for the last over a year, I've been like, you got to get on. We were on a podcasting panel, got to get you on GoalChat. And you know, why not, Mr. Geekscape?
Yeah.
It's perfect.
It was kismet. I actually forgot the date. And then when I saw that it was Monday the 4th, I was like, oh, that's so cool. We're going to talk sci-fi on May the 4th be with you. And I do think that we did meet on Kevin's panel. I think we actually did meet on Kevin's panel.
Yeah.
But
it's good. Kevin is good at bringing the people together.
He's a connector. Total connector.
Well, and I always say that my podcasts are my favorite form of networking, because unless it's on purpose, my guests don't know each other. And as is the case today, and usually they need to. We also have with us, and I should have asked how to pronounce your last name before, Larry Nemecek. Was I close?
It's it's Nemecek, but it's all over the place anyway, so it's fine.
Larry Nemecek, who I met through our friend Doris Fisher, and he's the one who inspired the panel, because I met him through a different Zoom, and I'm like, oh my goodness, Star Trek guy, let's do counter programming for May the 4th. So really excited to have you with us. And then Kandas Rodarte, who is the Gratitude Geek, who also has a sci-fi related podcast, whose show is also on the Marketing Podcast Network. Yes, you are welcome. It is my fault. Loves all things sci-fi so much that she started an extra podcast on it. So anyway, lovely people who all love, and not just love the topic, but just absolutely love pop culture. And not only pop culture, but talking about it, because, you know, is that not the best part? We are, well, you're not a podcaster, are you, Larry? But you're a guest a lot. So wait, do you have a podcast today?
I have the Trek Files on Roddenberry.
Yeah.
I have my Trekland Tuesdays live on Tuesdays on Restream. I have Second Opinion with Dr. Trek for whenever there's fresh Trek episodes. And I do a series with my granddaughter called Cadet Alice and Dr. Trek Watch Prodigy, which is the animated young kids Star Trek. So yeah,
I said corrected. We are a group of podcasters who love to talk about all of the things. And other than the fact that everybody is tangentially related to sci-fi and fandom and are awesome, you know very little about my guest today. So let's correct that. Oh, okay. Now, Restream started this new weird thing.
I know. Yeah.
And I guess this is going to be the best place to put people while they introduce themselves. But let's just see let's see if it lets me put someone in the main screen. Maybe not. Okay, everybody's going to look goofy. while you introduce yourselves, because
it's like the Brady Bunch intro. We're all just gonna. I'll pick the center square, please.
Jonathan, welcome. Who are you?
How are you? My name's Jonathan. I run Geekscape, and Geekscape is a podcast network, and I started it in podcasting in 2005, and Geekscape followed subsequently in 2006. And I just wanted to talk movies, video games, comic books, TV, all the stuff that I was obsessed with. As a filmmaker, it gave me a chance to keep an audience together, and we've carried that audience for 20 years and expanded it because very early on, people who listen to Geekscape were like, I could do better than this guy. And they can. And so they started doing their own podcasts, and we brought them under the Geekscape umbrella. So I think we have 40 plus shows or so. Matt Kelly would know. The guy who runs my network, Matt Kelly, the true dawn of Geekscape as far as the podcast network goes. Like, he would know how many shows we have. And it's just a blast. Like, we're on the road to Comic-Con San Diego this summer, where we've had a booth every year, and we're putting out comic books now, which I love, with little Geekscape branded comics, which are like my favorite thing ever. Doing signings, we put out films. Like, I don't know, it was just it's a fun place to kind of have a little play. It's our own playground. Is kind of what Geekscape is. It's for us, and we invite people to have fun with us. That's what it is.
Which is the point of everything, because if we're not having fun, I mean, there's so much seriousness in the world. Why not be counter-programming?
Sure. I mean, we get serious sometimes. It's hard not to. But honestly, like, pop culture and sci-fi are the best prisms through which to see the world, and kind of distance yourself enough to have a little bit of more objectivity or a little more perspective. Not that it's not like intensely personal at times, but it's the prism that I chose early on in my life to see the world through, was pop culture and science fiction and fantasy and comic books metaphor. And I'm still very passionate about it to this day, and I always will be, I think.
Awesome. Well, thrilled to have you here.
Thank you.
Larry, welcome.
Oh, well, thanks for having me. This is awesome. I'm out of the normal Trek skin, so in Trek people, so thanks for having me. So he's a Gorn. That's his human form. He's like in V. He's just gonna pull his skin out. Yeah, there we go. That's V.
Okay, wait, no. This is okay. Sometimes it's a family show. Okay, go on, please.
No, I was a kid that had weight. I was actually a NASA kid and a history buff when I was a kid, before my 9th grade science teacher poked me into Star Trek. But I had way too many hobbies and interests and all that as a kid. So we were like hobbyists before nerd and geek and all of that came along, and fan. And I mean, I built models and model rockets and did chemistry and stamp collected and built models and whatever. And once I found Star Trek, and I knew sci-fi, and I enjoyed Star Wars. If you told me in 1977 that Star Wars would be 10 times bigger than Star Trek in 30 years, I would be like, why? Like, did being a Jedi become a real religion, or what happened that made it that way? But anyway,
to some people,
so it's been fun. So I, went boring and mundane in journalism and theater, and then, and worked in news for 10 years. And then along the way, fandom was always there as a kid, and clubs and conventions. And anyway, I got the chance to, I got inspired by the nonfiction side of Trek, and the tech manual and the blueprints and the concordance and the making of Star Trek Classic book and all of that. And it was always there, but it was always a fun thing. And it was funny how adulthood brings, we learn that we can see all these geeky things through real life eyes, especially the last 10, 15 years. But I had the chance doing it on the side, but I had the chance to do a making of book for the next generation, the Next Gen Companion, which blew up. And from the Midwest, we moved to LA. And I was a word guy and became aware that media people were getting paid a lot more than word people. So I jumped into doing a documentary called The Con of Wrath, which was a real life wacky event that happened in Houston in 1982 that I was at my first out-of-state convention to go to. And that was going to be my blow up into media. That was going to be my baby steps away from being a word guy. And along the way, that bogged down. Meanwhile, the podcast and YouTube revolution kind of came along, and I finally figured out how to get there. And the way I got to Doris, that I met her, was I went through Melissa McFarlane, who was an entrepreneur for creatives. And that's how I created, can you see it? Portal 47, which is a backstage deep dive every month package with guests. And anyway, I just wanted to focus on the backstage and the making of World of Trek, because everybody loves the actors and everybody loves the stories, and that's awesome. But I wanted to get below that to get to what really was my jam, and also to preserve it and archive people and have that for the future. So Trekland is mostly, and Dr. Trek is mostly about the behind the scenes of Star Trek, and it's about all of it, but it's behind the scenes and preserving a lot of that, and for people, and to, as we say, make Star Trek fans aware that how much Star Trek they have no idea about. So that's kind of where I've been, and I listed off some of the, I didn't mention that I'm now on Trek Culture too, which is a big, I'm one of the hosts now on Trek Culture.
Wow.
So, anyway, it's kind of crazy busy, but it's been this thing, and we can get into this, I think, in your show here, but that entrepreneur group, I was sitting there with people trying to save animals and save babies, and help women and help men. And I was like, this is a passion thing. Like, I felt a little intimidated, saying, oh, I'm trying to help. I'm trying to figure out a way to make money legally off of Star Trek and indulge my, have a income and serve people and not feel weird about it. And finally, somebody walked up to me and said, are you kidding? The world is a mess. And this is one of the things that we go find refuge in and relief from. And I was like, oh, okay, I get that. Thank you. So now I don't feel, it helped me talk about this in a way, which I feel like maybe getting into what you may get into here today a little bit.
Right. And I am goal girl, but also book proposal expert. So I believe if you know something, if you love something, you never know who needs to hear your words, which is true. Again, whether you're speaking or an author, they all kind of come together, but it's educate, inform, and entertain. Those are the three values of being mission driven with knowledge, and all of them count. But if you're lucky, you do all three at the same time.
Right. And you never, you're right. I've learned never to prejudge who I'm talking to. I think, I'm in a really business circle here. I'm in a really non-fandom world. And it's like, don't be prejudiced. Like, don't prejudge, because you never know who's the closet fan across the room in the suit or the nice dress, or whose kids or grandkids or nieces are huge fans, and you've just opened up something for them. So it's really funny. It's like I've let go of things, in the modern world. We're so inundated with media everywhere. You can't make assumptions like you could in the old days that way. Right? Which is a good thing.
Okay. Yes. Before we continue down the rabbit holes, let's let Kandas say hi.
Hi.
Hi. Welcome, Kandas.
I feel so intimidated because I just have a little sci-fi book podcast.
No.
No gatekeeping here.
I'm surrounded by all these giants in sci-fi, and I just have a little sci-fi book podcast.
See, don't say that. You don't know.
Yeah, we need to learn her.
You never know those ripples.
Guess what? I have the sci-fi book podcast, and boy, am I glad to meet you guys.
Oh, well, so I started podcasting in 2014, and because of my podcast, which is a business education show, Gratitude Geek, I have been able to meet and interact with some really amazing people. And, I get to hang out with these really groovy people. But on the side, I really enjoyed reading sci-fi. And I fell in love with the books, the Star Wars books. I'm sorry, I'm going to go on. I know it's Star Wars Day. It's May the 4th. So we're going to talk about Star Wars for a minute.
Oh, well.
I fell in love with these Star Wars books, right? And I was so excited when I found out that they were going to be making the final 3 movies. And then I discovered that Jaina Solo was not going to be in them. And I'm sorry, but Jaina Solo is the Star Wars princess, or the Disney princess that we all deserve. And so I was like, okay, well, Star Wars has lost my loyalty, and let's talk about Star Trek. But but about 20 years ago, my husband and I were chatting about science fiction, and I said, well, everybody knows that Star Trek is made up, but Star Wars happened a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. But now that I am older and wiser and all this stuff has happened in the world, I want Star Trek to be real. I really want to live in the Star Trek universe. I do. I really do.
And we're roughly on the timeline. Things just have to get really bad.
Yeah, I know. It's
soon.
2026.
We're
about to
the
have
Star
something
Trek
horrible
I
happen.
am so in favor of not living the prime timeline.
Yeah, you'd rather have Eric Bana show up.
Yeah, well, I'd just rather not have World War III, and I want the Vulcans to get here without having to go through hell.
Because that is that's the Prime's timeline, and it's like, check your watches. Let's hope we're not the Prime timeline.
Is there a date, or is it just 2026?
It's April 5th, 2063 or 2061. Okay. They changed the date.
No. I'm talking about the date where World War III starts.
Oh, it's roughly roughed in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It doesn't. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen.
I'm all for splitting off a new timeline and.
Anyway, so my husband and I started this podcast called Sci-Fi Book Pod last year, and we have been reading so many, doom and gloom. The world is just awful, and then a lot of time travel. And I want more Star Trek. I really want more happy stories.
Yeah.
When I was in college, I was in a philosophy class that turned out to be the philosophy of Star Trek.
Oh,
I had no idea. Well, and I think this kind of ties in, right? Because isn't all of life Star Trek philosophy? I had no idea when I signed up for it that it was actually going to be this. And at first I was like, okay, really? But it didn't take long for me to get on board because I like that cross-section.
I want to take this class.
Mm-hmm.
University of Nebraska-Lincoln was where it was before I transferred to W-Madison where I graduated. But I am certain you could probably go on, what is that with all the courses? Coursera. You could probably go on Coursera and see if someone is teaching an online version of it.
There has to be, the Star Wars equivalent.
There's a whole academic underground of Star Trek and Star Trek fandom and Star Trek writing. There's an academia side, and they just kind of exist in their own little world. And that's partly, it feels like there's always been there used to be Monday news articles would pop up and say, oh, there's a legal class on the law of Star Trek or the sociology of Star Trek, or not just the science, that you would expect, but diplomacy and all of that. And it's been going since the 70s, but then they also publish books, and there's a whole academic publishing underground to Star Trek. If you actually start looking, and analysis and literary and, sexuality and all kinds of things to Star Trek that mainstream fandom has no idea about. And sometimes you think they'd be snoozy, and boring and all that, but they're not. But that's true. Somewhere there's at least 2 or 3 every year, every semester in the country, some Star Trek type class from some subject area.
I think Star Trek it has been such a leader in culture shifting ideas.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the first interracial kiss, the first female, two women kissing. I think that Star Trek Next Generation may have had the first androgynous character, like the openly, binary. They've just always been so forward and so cutting edge, but not in a way that makes you go, ew.
Well, these days, something as radically simple as they talk about competency porn.
Have
you heard that phrase?
Explain it.
Well-trained people who are halfway. They may have their individual problems, but it's well-trained people who work together on a problem and get it done without killing.
I can see the attraction of that. I can see the attraction of that right about now. Yes, we have had a lot of incompetency. But we're drowning in it.
Isn't that what we're doing right now? We're co-creating something right now in a very competent way.
I don't want to speak for myself. I mean,
I'm gonna say yes. Because it is my show, and but we also like to think it goes back to the educate, inform, entertain. Ideally, you want to do all of them, but if nothing, at least entertain, right?
I think
sometimes you're only entertaining yourself.
And I think that's the thing with that whole idea, Larry, like the late 70s and like the need for fantasy. Like Star Trek was had a level of realism at all times, but with Star Wars, it immediately in that opening crawl said, "Hey, this is gone. This is past, but it's fantasy. It's closer to Tolkien than it is to Star Trek, right? And we're going to use swords, and we're going to use magic, and there's not a lot of that in Star Trek. It's more about logic and fact, and in the perseverance of the human race that we know. You can argue that there's not a human in Star Wars because it happened a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and has never set foot on Earth. And I hope it never does. And I think that's like the coolest thing about, to me. I mean, I'm a Trek fan, but I'm first and foremost was a Star Wars fan. And so when you were talking about the novelizations of Star Wars, I mean, as a middle schooler who like just memorized the audio of the Star Wars movies to the point where I could not watch them with other people without annoying the hell out of them, because I would be doing the boops and everything. And I loved those. I mean, I loved the Ewok movies. I loved everything Star Wars. The Timothy Zahn novels came out like a breath of fresh air. It was like new Star Wars. Oh my God. And it was done at a level that was true to Star Wars. It was incredible. I think that, you know, I still enjoy Star Wars, but I think Timothy Zahn deserves his place in Star Wars. I moderated Timothy Zahn twice last fall. I'm going to talk to him again in 2 weeks at Comic-Con Revolution here in Ontario. I don't live in Ontario, but it's like an hour that way. And so just in the last year being able to talk to Timothy Zahn 3 times and have that audio put out on the Geekscape podcast and stuff like that, like he was what I devoured when those Heir to the Empire books came out. It was incredible. And I mean, just selfishly, that's why I built Geekscape, was to be like, hey, I can't find my way into these people who I love. But I know if like Field of Dreams, I started doing what I learned in college, which was college radio, and which I missed. And as I became a filmmaker, being like, hey, but there's still that itch of talking one-on-one with somebody and talking about storytelling. It was always like talking about why justification of storytelling. Why do you tell stories, and why are they personal, and this and that? Like that led me down the road to everybody. And it's just been an amazing 20 plus years of, you know, Stan Lee and Kevin Smith and Timothy Zahn and everybody I love. And I think that's important, but it started with those dreams of fantasy in the logic of Star Trek, to say like A to B to C to D. And I think that's important. I think that if we're on our phones now and talking about the generation now, they may not appreciate Star Wars and Star Trek as much as they may appreciate, you know, TikTok and Fortnite. There's an immediacy to TikTok and Fortnite, and there's also a very small dopamine rush reward, and those entertainment pieces are over in minutes, right? At their longest. Nothing lasts over 15 minutes. Nothing lasts an hour. I think that is pretty dangerous, because it takes out the building. And if we're going to talk about goals, I think you got to talk about the building. I think you got to talk about the building blocks of where you want to go. And man, you never would predict where it would lead you. I mean, mine started in the comic store, first job in high school, but you couldn't have convinced that kid that any of this stuff that happened to me was going to happen. But it was just chasing that next immediate thing, which I think if it was built in a culture of dopamine rushes and immediate gratification and that, I don't know. I think I would have gotten too frustrated. I think I would have gotten angry, and I still get angry and frustrated. But I can look back and be like, no, it works. You just have to, you know. Does that make sense, guys?
But I'm just thinking what you're saying. We're also seeing forget fandoms and pop culture. We're seeing the ramifications of all of that. I can't think more than 5 minutes ahead of my nose in the real world.
Yeah. So competency porn, hey, sign me up for that.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Me too. But as a filmmaker,
I just came across that. But yeah.
Jonathan, as a filmmaker, you are storyboarding your ideas. And I really think the whole concept of storyboarding is a goal setting. That's goal. I mean, as a goal setter, we need to be storyboarding our futures. You know, you don't just use that concept in film.
Oh, I
brought it back to goals.
Candace, I never even thought about that. But if you can't
that's my
visualize
job as a marketer, as I come up with these, really crazy
what
ideas.
more is visualization than storyboarding?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's huge.
And with storyboarding, you can move the ideas around too. It doesn't have to go in the order that you've originally storyboarded.
Right.
You can, you know, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. Is storyboarded the right
Well, I mean, you run into so many dead ends, right? Like you run into so many dead ends that panel you thought was next in your life, it might be 5-10 years from now. It may not even end up on the page.
Yeah.
But if you can,
Jaina Solo doesn't exist in this Star Wars war.
Dude, the fact that they took those Heir to the Empire books and made them legends, quote unquote Star Wars legends, it's cool. They're the tall tales of the Star Wars Empire, like Star Wars universe now, but like it still doesn't necessarily sit well with me. I love that stuff so much. I loved what is now called Legends by Lucasfilm.
Timothy Zahn should have written the last 3 movies, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Timothy Zahn should have written the prequels.
Yeah, well, yeah. Okay. I'll give you that.
I'm calling time. I'm wrapping us back.
My love for Timothy Zahn.
I'm just watching everybody apologize for starting with Trek, and here we've went back around to war.
Candace, we are one mind on the Timothy Zahn stuff. I worship that dude. I love it. I mean, I'm so blessed.
You and I need to chat later.
Yeah, like I'm literally going to moderate him in 2 weeks, and I did twice in the fall. I was so blessed with this stuff. It's incredible. Put me in the ground. I'm good. Had a good one.
And I'm trying to like put threads together. We'll see how I do. But the way that I look at goals is you can't get what you want unless you know what that is. But the way it shows up in your life may be completely different. But Deb method is determine your mission, explore your options, brainstorm your path. So you know what you love, what you're into. You've got an idea of the story that you need to write. But again, no such thing as time and space. Everything is, I'm sure there's some, everything happens not in your time, but in the time the universe decides. And the whole thing about time being nonlinear is a different conversation.
It's a wibbly wobbly thing. Let's bring in another side.
Like what do religious people say
about it? Time is the fire in which we burn. I mean, you can go. There's lots.
There's so many like saws that we can go with it.
They go, man plans and God laughs is the one that I always heard. Like man plans, God laughs, and I was like, why is she so mean? like what? I mean, if you believe in that sort of thing, I get it. Like, yeah, it's all, you know.
But I think one thing that I've heard that's consistent is you all developed the love of sci-fi pop culture early on, and you didn't know it was going to show up this way in your life. I mean, maybe you hoped, but part of it is, okay, life, let me out. Doing something that you love, you get open to more possibilities. What I want to know is, what is it about science fiction? I mean, I could ask this, what is it about food? What is it about drama? What is it about politics? But for the purposes of today, what is it about science fiction that gets people so fired up and excited? And now they're quiet.
I think it's whether
I've monopolized the mic.
Whether you're a fiction person or you're a nonfiction person. And I loved when I used to talk about that I was a fan and I was a writer of science fiction, nonfiction, or Star Trek nonfiction. And they'd say, I thought all of Star Trek was, no, wait. Yeah, I don't do Star Trek fiction. They'd say, I thought all of Star Trek was fiction. I'm going, no, I'm talking about the how-tos, the making ofs, the in-universe chronology and all of that kind of thing. Because that's where my I love stories, but for some reason I was never a storyteller, a fiction person, but I wanted to, so we have these terms now like world building and timelines and chronology. And we didn't have that when I was a kid, but that's where I went. And then I got the chance to do making of, which I always loved, but I didn't think about me doing it because you had to interview people. And that's been one of the blessings of where I've been. But whatever it is, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, I think sci-fi, part of it is the what if. And whether it is your mind is just spinning, or whether you're unhappy with something right now in real world time, and you want to say, well, how do we get out of this, or what's an alternative? But whether you want to spin the story, or you just want to go off and dream, or you get an idea of something of technology, or bio whatever, and you just spin that way, and you can go do that. And if it's imaginative, or if it's the thing about Star Trek again is it's the happy tale. Hopefully, everything else seems to be post-pandemic, post-apocalyptic.
That's the word I was looking for earlier,
and all of that. And that seems like Walking Dead, and that seems to be really dramatic fodder. But for people long term, what's different about Star Trek than it feels like everything else is that's the goal. And everything else, if you go a dark turn, that's just a bump along the way until you figure yourself out and get back. And that's one of the appeal. I never consciously thought of that appeal, because Gene said, if you think contacting alien life and future geek tech and all of this, if you think that's cool, then we better learn to get along, because we'll never get out there if we blow ourselves up or kill the planet first or whatever. So it was always like, well, yeah, the Earth learned to get along, and the Earth learned to solve this and that problem, and starvation and famine and poverty and well, of course, or else these stories make no sense.
Did everybody?
That was their primary. A lot of fans, that's their primary lifeline. Their buy-in.
It's hope. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did everybody hear the way he just name dropped Gene?
Yeah.
Gene says,
well,
guys,
Roddenberry, for those who haven't
I'm guilty
been paying
of all
attention.
that.
Sorry,
guys. I'm the biggest culprit of that. And then people are like, man, you did. And I'm like, yeah, but I was Stanley's moderator for 8 years. Like, you tell that to the fucking kid in the comic store, and he'd be like,
going nuts.
Get out of here. You're lying. You're never going to leave Austin, Texas.
Well, I mean, I met Gene once.
Then you can call him Gene. You got it.
But I mean, that's Trek fan. I mean, Gene is the great bird of the galaxy, right? I mean, everybody, nobody says Mr. Roddenberry, they're not, that shows that you're not a fan. I mean, now people say Mr. Berman or Mr. Braga, or they say Mr. Kurtzman, or they say,
Mr. Rogers.
We haven't had a Rogers that I can think of. But people say that, and it still sounds a little stiff, but no one says Mr. Roddenberry. Everybody says Gene this, and when Gene did this and Gene did that, and I've never stopped to think about it until just now. Thanks.
He's a cult figure on his own, separate from. I mean, he did so much more than Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm bringing it back to the question though. Why sci-fi? Kandas, what is it about sci-fi for Larry? And I did paraphrase you, because whether you're into fiction or nonfiction, there is an appeal, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's both sides of the coin.
I think for those of us who are curious, science fiction gives us something to be curious about.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who wrote the book that just was the big movie? Oh my gosh, Project Hail Mary. The guy Mary, saw the author Andy Weir. I saw Andy Weir on an episode of Star Talk with Neil deGrasse Tyson, and Andy Weir was talking about how these 2 planets that he had picked as the planets that could support life, based on the information they had at the time that they probably could support life, that information has changed since the books were written, and they no longer are thought to be planets that could support life. But so the it's an ever-changing thing. You've got to be curious, you've got to be learning, and in science fiction, it doesn't have to be right. It can just be fiction, and it's okay. And it teaches us that it's okay to also change our minds.
And Andy Weir did a lot of that. When he was writing The Martian, the story is that he was writing it in a public forum. He would take a chapter of The Martian as he wrote it, to the best of his scientific ability for whatever discipline he is knowledge in, and he would put it in a public forum. I think it was Amazon Marketplace or Google, but he would put it up as chapters. And the scientific community that he had built through friendship and social media took to the chapters, and a lot of these people would come out and say, hey, I'm actually a microbiologist, or hey, I actually work with blank blank blank, or I'm a scientist in this field. And they would actually give him notes on The Martian. He would then go back and course correct The Martian to make it the science a bit more sound. And so
he got all this free science consulting.
He just got all this consulting, and he did it in that public forum. I believe it was on Amazon, like you put your stories up on Amazon and stuff. And so The Martian that we ended up with in in the film, and then in the final book, was one that had been stress tested. Not that it's all sound, it doesn't have, it's not completely airtight, but it was a pretty fun read. It was pretty dynamic read because it had all these different stress tests throughout the writing of it from the scientific community. And Project Hail Mary was back to those resources and said, okay, so the fact that those two planets no longer could possibly inhabit life, look for a name change in future versions. Like, wait, what if they go here?
And I don't think it's necessary though, because it's
beautiful,
and and wonderful. That's why I love science fiction. I can get lost in something that isn't real, and there's just too much crap in reality. I don't like dystopian. I don't like zombies and all that stuff. I want the fantasy of everybody's getting along, nobody's starving, war has been eliminated. I like that future.
Well, that's one of the reasons why originally that's why Star Trek, because it was, and there's cultural and there's era pendulum swings, and for a long time vampires and zombies were the big storytelling vehicles and everything, and I feel like
vampires may have made a comeback.
Yeah. Yes. Well,
zombies will
talk
again.
About The Martian, competency porn. I didn't have that phrase then, but I love The Martian because it's like, look, if you know basic science, you can survive being the only guy on Mars with a little tech to help you.
Yeah.
Like, this is the greatest commercial for, would you please pay attention in 5th and 6th and 7th grade science or anything, history, math, anything.
Oh my gosh.
It can save your life.
These science is required in school. Can't you remember what you learned?
Okay, so wait. So what you're saying is, if you pay attention in science, you can MacGyver and live through the apocalypse.
It's possible.
There you go.
For sure, a zombie apocalypse, like a zombie. We did a documentary.
For sure, the zombie apocalypse. Okay,
yeah. So there's a couple different types of zombie apocalypses, and we did a documentary on it called Dock of the Dead. Geekscape co-produced it, and it had everybody in it: Max Brooks, Robert Kirkman, Romero when he was still alive, Simon Pegg, everybody who you want to hear talking zombies was talking zombies. And what I loved about it wasn't the fantasy of a zombie. It's some ridiculousness, but the real world fact that there are zombies, but they're in insects, but there's billions of insects and only a couple million mammals, so it's only a matter of time before the numbers don't go our way, and we have an outbreak of something, which we almost did. I mean, COVID didn't make you lash out, but mad cow does, but rabies does. It's just not a very transmutable disease, right? A dog gets rabies in your neighborhood. Not every dog ends up with rabies. So you got to think about like that 5th and 6th grade science. It would totally save you in a zombie apocalypse. I mean, just look at roadkill. You're telling me that this reanimated corpse is going to last longer than a week in the sun and with bugs and birds and carrion? It's not going to happen. Unless they're radioactive. If they're the Return of the Living Dead zombies, you got yourself a problem. So then how do you go about that? At the end of the day, the biggest problem with zombies, which I think The Walking Dead worked on, was really big on, was the biggest threat in The Walking Dead is us. We are The Walking Dead. We're the threats to each other. And I had a thesis going into that documentary, whether it was successful or not, and being illustrated. But I felt, and this is why I tell these stories and use a fantastical lens, because my anxiety and I'm scared and I'm worried about the next day, and not to a crippling way, but in a way that I have to calm myself down and say, what is happening here? And with Doctor the Dead specifically, and with The Walking Dead and the zombie stuff, and why I think that is I think that we're going to go right back to it, is we got through 9/11, we got through Katrina, and we were seeing the like mass destruction of humanity on a high-speed level directly to our eyeballs, to our phones. I mean, it was newspapers before that. Before that, it was happening in newspapers. The Gulf War was probably happening in newspapers in some select channels. It wasn't happening on our phones. It was happening directly to us in high definition. And as a culture, we were shocked. We won't go get flu shots. We clearly know how a lot of us feel about vaccines. But the second you have this fictional creature, a metaphor for death that will happen to all of us, people start going, well, this is what I would do in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. Now they can wrap their heads around their own mortality, but they needed that metaphor of a zombie to do so. So I think the popularity of The Walking Dead and all that stuff is, oh, I will die one day. This is going to happen. I'm not willing to deal with it enough to get a flu shot, but I do want to face it to the degree that I'm able to in this giant flood of mass media coming over me. I pick the fun one with the guy with the freaking spear. Wait, nobody in the show had a spear, which I thought was the stupidest thing ever. I'm like, sitting there, you're gonna make gunshots with other humans. Why don't you run around with a belt, pal? Nobody in that show had a spear, and they're sitting in the woods. Y'all didn't want to make spear weapons and distance forming weapons. They ran around with knives. There was a scene where people would be like, yo, take this. And he hands them a knife. It's like, motherfucker, you want me to, I'm sorry. You want me to die? You want a zombie to be up on me before I can stab it in the head? I would be running around with a trident so fast. You don't want a spear because you impale the zombie. The zombie climbs down the spear. It gets you. You want a trident. I would be running around like the king of the sea. Oh, I would look like a sea monkey in leather, which may be somebody's kink. But leather with a trident in the future, wearing a motorcycle helmet.
Oh my god! Between
Mad Max adjacent.
So Jonathan,
you don't want to start a fire. You don't want to have a gunshot. You don't want to do anything that attracts humans or that you can get trapped with. Try them.
So, is your answer to why sci-fi because it helps you prepare for the apocalypse?
No, I write love letters. I write. I do. I have a G.I. Joe book coming up, which isn't official G.I. Joe. It's a team book where everybody is kind of representative of different sects of SECTS of American society. Where like I didn't get like G.I. Joe. I was like, these people are way too different to be getting along. And like, I love G.I. Joe, but I was like, what, you're telling me there's one dude who can do the boat? There's one guy who's an explosives guy. What happens if that guy gets taken out? Are you just stuck on an island because nobody else can pilot a boat? But like,
were you ever in the military?
No. There's lots of.
It makes more sense if you grew up.
I'm sure that's a well-oiled machine.
I grew up around the military. My father worked for the Department of the Army. That makes a lot of from that perspective. Like, G.I. Joe made sense.
So I wrote the next comic wave coming out is basically like a team book, but it's like you have people they do not get along. They do not get along, but they got to save the day. I think the tension goes up when they don't get along, and G.I. Joe got along. But like Hear the Prophecy, for example, the comic that we do now, which is like a Galaxy Quest style fantasy where like a pro wrestler from Earth gets Galaxy Quested to a Golden Globus level fantasy world because they see wrestling and they think it's real. It's a mistaken identity story like Army of Darkness and Galaxy Quest, Three Amigos. But it's with a pro wrestler. I wrote that as a love letter to my brother. His name is on the book. He was a WWE wrestler for years, and Vince McMahon in the WWE never really. It's like they had a Ferrari in the garage the whole time because wrestling fans love my brother. They know what he was capable of. They knew him in the indies doing these things, and the second he got to the biggest stage, it's like they shut him down. And I saw in him a depression come over him and an uncertainty about his own childhood dream possibly being in the rear view. And it scared me. We had lost our older brother about 10 years prior. And I freaked out, and I wrote a story to tell him I love him. And I wrote the Year of the Prophecy to say, hey man, maybe that thing about your childhood dream being in your rearview mirror, which is not. He continues to wrestle, and he trains new wrestlers, and he's part of a really great community. But at the time, I really, really worried about him sinking. And I said, I'm going to write, and I wrote the story in a weekend. I just outlined the whole thing. I said, why he goes to a Golden Globus world. It's like Beastmaster and Kroll, but they see wrestling, and these buffoons think it's an arena battle, and they think it's real. So they summon him to defeat an evil wizard. And then we shot a bunch of it with actors like Doug Jones and stuff. And we tried to shop it for like 10 years. And people were like, oh, cool. But it's like got John Carter on Mars. I was like, oh no. and I like the John Carter on Mars movie. It's got some repeat beats. It's got some stuff that, but I like that movie. It's fun. And but I wrote Hear the Prophecy and then created it as a comic because it wasn't getting made as a movie or TV show. And I needed to tell the story. It was a love letter to my brother, the same way that Super Action Man is a love letter to my country, but it's an abusive relationship. And, but you know what I mean? Like I still love my country, but holy crap. Like, come on, get it together, which is what I yell at the team when I'm writing them. Like, oh my God, you get it together, guys. And I don't know, that's what it is for me. That's what sci-fi and fantasy is for me. It's my prism to a world I can't control. And it's a way to just kind of tell myself, yeah, we lived through Katrina. We lived through 9/11. We need to deal with the reality of what's going to happen to us. But it needs to be abated a bit by metaphor. And ideally it's shared. Ideally we talk about these things together. Ideally we celebrate these things together. And there's nothing better for that than sci-fi fantasy. Sorry, I just got it took over.
No. Can I this is completely off topic, but can I just say Katrina was the best thing that ever happened to Houston. Because of Katrina, Houston got the best Cajun food.
Yeah, I don't know if a lot of dead people would agree with you. Well, and the fact that
that's
like
not what
now,
yes, I know.
But New Orleans right now has been notified that it should probably start evacuating, period, because it will be surrounded by the Gulf of Mexico very soon. Yeah. And levees and nothing is going to save. I mean, the reality is through coastal erosion and the rising of our seawater, like New Orleans will not probably see through the next century. And that is nuts. Because New Orleans is a major city. It is a beautiful city. It's a wonderful cultural city. It's given us so much. And we aren't on the Star Trek timeline to the point where we can save New Orleans. And we're going to have to live in a reality one day where there is no and it's submerged because it's below sea level.
Yeah.
And
how will
holy cow. What's that?
I started to say, we won't have New Orleans around to be the birthplace of Captain Sisko if we don't.
Captain Sisko and the amazing food. So I need all the scientists to get together and find a way to levitate it and make it a floating city or a bottle city like Kandor in the Superman.
Just get the weather modification net that they use on other planets to figure out.
How did Venice handle it?
Okay, so what you're saying, it's also problem solving.
Yeah, sci-fi is also problem solving.
That is best. That is best.
But
for me,
is there a way to do canals in New Orleans the way that they have in Venice? Because that's how they solve flooding there.
That's right.
It's above my pay grade.
I'm
the dumbest person on this panel. You're gonna ask me.
Think about. Well, no, I don't think so.
I'm like, everybody get straws. We can save this thing.
So just to touch on fandom, good luck, Deb, getting them just to briefly touch on something. Not going to happen. But the fandom,
meow.
The
herding cats. Yeah,
I got the reference. That's why I started laughing. The fandom aspect of, because there are fandom for all sorts of subsects within pop culture. Do you feel like fandom is something that's extreme for sci-fi people, or it's just you love is love is love?
Love is love is love.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I love going to Comic-Cons, because all the different fandoms there together coexisting are beautiful. But I've never been to one of the really big ones. I mean, the biggest ones I ever went to was in Houston. So
What,
haven't been to-
Comic Palooza or Comic?
Yeah, Comic Palooza, I think, is one of them. Yeah, there's a couple of them. I can't remember their names though. I've been in Michigan for 8 years now.
Oh.
That was my before life. There was BM and PM.
Well, Michigan has Motor City Comic Con, right?
Yeah, I've never been to that one either.
Oh, okay.
Well, that one's closer.
Yeah, we have one here in
Oh,
town. We actually have one here in the small town that I live in.
Well, you say fandom. The thing that
Thank you.
That I meow. The thing that gets me, and it's what the Star Trek 09. It's what the Kelvin universe. It's what the Viacom divorce and the weird fallow years of not having TV Star Trek did. When you thought, look how much money they made, much less made all these people happy and inspired, flip-top cell phones and iPads and everything in the short term. Forget that. But you just made a lot of money, guys. Why did we go 12 years without TV episodes, like small screen episodes? But the thing that got me about ST09 was real. And then it happened again with the coming of, I realized we get into blinders. Fandom is a spectrum. It's not a box.
Yeah.
You don't put, it's not even black and white. There's a whole spectrum like everything else. And you say fandom, you could have people make the mistake of thinking what's happening online is fandom. No, that's online fandom. And then people, even when you go to a convention, you go to San Diego or you go to Trek Vegas, which is all Star Trek. That's not all fandom. That's the people that are aware enough to go, and they have the money to go, frankly, right? So a lot of times if the kids are there, they're kids of parents, or they are kids who it's in their town and they can just bum over there. But, they're not hopping the country. If they're 18, 19, 20, they have to have income and get there. And so it's almost, but fandom, I talk about the great armchair, the unwashed fans out there that just watch the shows and they just, and they may not know that they're supposed to show up over here and praise, or they're supposed to show up here and bitch and moan. They don't know that. They're just there. But in 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 years, whatever the hell the tech landscape is and wherever the hell we're congregating by then they show up and they, and all of a sudden the old memes that what you thought about DS9 and Voyager and Enterprise, suddenly, oh no, DS9 was the Great Bird's gift to all Star Trek. It's the one that's your perception changes. And so we get locked in sometimes. I guess that's what has blown me away the most the last 10, 15, 20 years, is just realizing that there is no one channel. There's no, I don't mean a YouTube channel. Yeah. I mean, there's no one rut. There's no one box that everybody's in.
There be.
Always kind of knew
there
that.
Shouldn't be.
But yeah, there should. No, I'm not judging. I'm just saying that sometimes we get locked into thinking that fandom looks like what we think fandom is, and you forget that there. And I'm not talking about the shippers versus there's the shippers, and there's the ship porn. The ship fandom. And then
Larry likes his porn.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are people who just watch,
and then there's a range of people. Culture, that's all. But yeah,
so there are people who just watch, just like on social media. There are people who just see posts and they never ever comment, like,
lurkers?
Or share.
Yeah.
Lurkers. And there are people who get very involved online, and there are people who get very involved in person. And your level of fandom is based on, I guess, who you are as a human,
and the community that you build around it. So this piece of art right here was created by an artist, and his wife was murdered. They both belong to the 501st, which is the guys who the people who dress up as stormtroopers. And at her funeral, there were hundreds of people in Star Wars costume. The community that came together around her death was just heartwarming. And even people they didn't know were there to support because they were part of that 501st community. That's what you get from the fandom. You get community. And that's something that we are so missing in this. I mean, I could go weeks without seeing anybody but my husband and my daughter because I work from home.
Yeah.
You know, I need my fandom community. I need my geeks. I need my nerds.
I think all that's incredibly important. Yeah. And if you go and talk to a sociologist about homelessness and you say, hey, we're putting all this money into resources for a shelter, but they won't go. We can't get them to go. We can't get them off the street. We can't get them to go. It's because their communities are there. What you're not replicating is that community. And from any strata of society, it is about community. And that's why Geekscape, the one thing I made shirts, and the most important thing, and I catch myself doing that all the time because I think the big cardinal sin of fandom is yucking somebody's yum.
Yep.
Right? Is saying, oh, the sequel trilogy doesn't count. It counts to somebody. You know, it counts for somebody. Like watching, you know, the young Star Wars stuff, like the new one with the kids and Jude Law and stuff like that. Like I was having fun watching the Goonies Star Wars series, not because it was amazing and scratched every itch I needed. As
Bad Batch is my favorite Star Wars.
Bad Batch, right? So it wasn't because it scratched. It was because I was like, this is going to be my daughter's Star Wars.
Yeah.
You know, and I think so. I made a shirt. I mean, our motto and like the shirt I made is like, don't hate, period, create. Because I was going down, and I lost friendships. Like I was negative, and I was like surly, and I was like, oh no, I was here first, and I know this, and I, you know, and like we want to be in control, and I've explained where I come from and my need to control, and feeling the helplessness around either loss or things not turning out the way you want them. And it can make you very bitter. It can make you very cynical. And it has done so to me many times. But that's the dark side. That's the why Star Wars to me is like the one, is because there's this dark side in all of us. There's this guy, the Incredible Hulk, is inside of all of us, right? My old Meko figure from when I was a kid. And I had to fix his arms. If you're watching this on the stream, it's not I don't know if you're putting out as a podcast, but you know, the duality of it is that there's a light, and you in the time and energy that you spend online or writing something negative to somebody or feeding that wolf instead of the other wolf, just create something. And sometimes that negativity, sometimes that wolf is fear. You know, after having Hear the Prophecy rejected by a lot of people in Hollywood for 10 years, I had a fear of that story. I was like, maybe people don't care. And I kept saying, but I do. And I want my brother to know. And I want my brother to know that I love him and I see him as a hero and he'll be a hero again. That's the story. That's the whole story, you know? And so I had to make it as a comic, and we're continuing to make it as a comic. And we just did a signing of Free Comic Book Day this past weekend. I've had my brother at our San Diego booth and signing with me. And I think positivity, it's so hard, at least for me, it's so hard to stay in that mode in the world around you is telling you not to for so long. And online, oh my God, like I do not want to be a woman on the internet. It's so scary. And I'm so scared for my daughter to be a woman in society and on the internet. So I'm scrambling with my wife to be like, how do we make her the bravest, the boldest, the Princess Mononoke? Like, how do we make her a badass so she just doesn't care to the extent that I care?
But why can't we work on making the men
human on the internet?
The men are totally responsible.
But why can't we make them better? Why do we have to make the women stronger? Why can't we make the men not assholes? Sorry.
No, I hear. No. I hear you, Candace.
We've burned that bridge. Don't worry, Candace.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
And I don't mean all men.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
No, but
not all.
But yes,
I am the mother of an adult daughter. Yes.
Yes. All. You know, yes. I'm going to say all men because all men have a responsibility. Mm-hmm. Yes, all men have a responsibility to punch the man next to them in the face if they're freaking watching Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
Like, yes, all men.
Yeah.
If you're going to be silent, yes, all men.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All men have the responsibility.
Yeah.
So you can say not all men. No, I'm not going to say not all men. I have that responsibility. I have the responsibility to be like, dude, you're not, this is messed up. Stop it.
Yep.
Like, because otherwise, why did you idolize Superman? Why did you idolize Spider-Man? Why did you idolize Luke Skywalker.
Why
did you idolize any of these characters? And it drives me crazy when you see people who got the wrong messages. And I was like, oh, dude, are you serious? How is that your bumper sticker? How are these two bumper stickers on the same bumper? Because, bro, they are not the same ideal.
Yeah.
And not the same message.
The number of people who like the Empire instead of the rebels.
The Punisher would whip your ass, bro.
Yeah.
And he's a psychotic.
Deb, I apologize.
Batman fans, I understand. They're already worshiping a billionaire. Batman fans, I understand. You worship a billionaire who embezzles from his own publicly traded company to build siege weapons to beat up poor people who just need to go get jobs so desperately they work for a clown. I get it. He won't even fix the freaking hospital. But asylum, whatever. Like, dude, there's a reason Gotham looks like a toilet. But I get the Batman fans being a little weird. But Superman fans acting like that? Nah, dog.
If Batman had been a woman, he would have fixed the asylum.
Lego Batman's the best Batman.
She would fix the asylum.
Guys,
the layer that I find a little interesting, since I know both of you, is that Candace's daughter's grown up. Jonathan, how old's your daughter now?
She just turned 21 months today.
Yes. So not even 2 years old and protecting her future.
She's been to maybe 10 Comic Cons already. She comes with me to my signings. She comes with me to Comic Cons, and you
got her training early.
Maybe she'll loathe it because of so, but that's her path, and I'm okay with that. And I'm excited for all the things that she will continue to teach me. You know, if she takes on, you know, if she becomes a you know, whatever the Netflix thing is, the K-pop demon hunter, or if she becomes somebody who just wants to be all about sports, like whatever she's going to teach me. She's already taught me so much, because it's that anxiety I talk about, that thing that I've always lived with. Maybe I mask it well, but no, I have massive anxiety. And the thing, you know, the things that she's taught me about just being present, because it's moving so fast. Dude, I was bawling at a Bluey episode the other day, just losing it. Losing it.
If you don't mind,
it's so beautiful.
If you don't mind, unsolicited advice.
Don't mind. I need it.
We discovered,
like Dr. Strange, teach me.
So my daughter fell in love with dinosaurs when she saw her first Land Before Time movie, and she has a degree.
It's a tragic film.
She has a degree in paleontology because we never told her she couldn't.
That's great.
No matter what your daughter wants to do, you tell her she can.
It's amazing. It's also how my brother ended up a pro wrestler, but that's amazing.
But this ties into sci-fi, because basically the whole point of science fiction, if I understand correctly, is anything is possible.
Anything's possible. Yep.
Anything is possible. If you can imagine it, it can happen in science fiction. It is.
Quote Kevin Garnett of the Boston Celtics championship year: "Everything is possible." Doing some sports. It's a ridiculous meme. Sorry about that.
Okay, so friends, I mean, I'll stay here.
We are all friends now, guys. I love you, Larry. I love you, Candace. We got to figure out some stuff.
This is bonding in the
Jonathan,
trenches.
I have so many questions for you that I have to ask you after.
I'm very grateful for this.
Yeah.
Can you just moderate the Zon panel in 2 weeks? Just send me the questions. I'll just verbatim read them.
I would love to. I'd love to. Where is it?
It's here in Ontario, California, like an hour east.
Oh, okay. You're in California. When you said Ontario, I thought you meant.
I love Toronto. Toronto's amazing. I love it.
I thought you meant. Oh no! Well, hold on.
You're an hour west of Ontario. So are you in LA or one of the?
Yeah, I'm in Los Angeles.
Oh, okay.
As you are, I believe.
Okay, I'm for years, and now I'm a little east of Riverside. So
incredible. So come to Ontario, California.
We have to meet. Yeah, we have to do this.
Let's chill.
Who was the? Well, I will remember where we first met. Unlike other people in this panel, Thank you, Deborah.
You are so welcome. See, and like I said, a lot of these are a lot more structured. I had no idea what would happen today. I just knew that I wanted to do this. But before we leave, everybody, I'd love for you to share some goals, or gift goals, as I call it, to our audience. And it can, since we've talked about everything, it can have to do with anything. So what is something anyone can do today, tomorrow, immediately? It could be sci-fi related. It can be creation. It could be fan. I don't care. Kandas, since you've been on before, I'm going to make you gift a goal first.
I don't know if you can do this right away, but if you have not ever been to a convention, a pop culture convention, please get yourself to one. Even if you are not a super fan, get yourself to one, because you
don't have to dress up.
Yeah, you don't have to dress up
totally in your city.
You just
in San Diego Comic-Con, don't even go inside. Just be in the city. Just absorb it. Yeah.
But the amount of joy that you feel because the people are so happy. So get yourself to a con.
And everybody's probably speaking your language.
Mm-hmm. Klingon.
Mm-hmm. I love that as a goal. That's great. Okay, Jonathan, what goal are you gifting?
Ooh, I would say is Candace says, explore and go outward and meet your people, and just absorb their vibes. This one's my constant struggle is going inward. Is what it's. I call it personal paleontology. How I write my stories, it's like the stuff that keeps me up at night, the fears and stuff. And in my way to control them is to take them out and put them on paper. So I always have a notepad with me. So just it's not necessarily journaling, because for me, I have a conscious goal. Oh, hey, Philia, she just got home and she's hopping around. I love her. But for me, like it all starts here, on a notepad, which is the quickest way to write forward. I find that writing on a computer, you write a lot backwards. You open the document, you're like, let me refresh myself, and then you just end up rewriting instead of doing anything, and you've depleted your entire image bank at that point. So I try and write as much as I can on a notepad, and then transcribe, and then there I can kind of Tetris things around. But I would say do what Candace is doing, but explore the inner convention, like what the things are that you would like to trudge out, right? If you're trudging the bottom of the seafloor, do it with yourself, and maybe there's some incredible stories that you can tell from there.
Okay, so explore your inner ideas, write forward using actual paper.
You're so much more eloquent than I am. I love it.
Well, no, I just modify. And before Larry jumps on, I've been doing this show since 2020, and I got this is the best GoalChat live ever from Pam, who I met through Twitter chats that I started in 2018. So thank you, Pam. Oh, do we have a guest?
Do you hear? You do. I don't show her. You don't show her on the internet, but I don't show her on the internet. But she's just below camera, going hi. Hi. She's saying hi to all of you. Ophelia.
We're waving back.
Hello, Ophelia.
And she has her sunglasses in her hand. And
aww.
I picked.
She's already a diva.
She's wonderful.
When my granddaughter Cadet Alice is visiting, when I'm having to do something live with Portal 47 or anything, she'll come on and just say hi for a minute, and everybody goes, "Oh, it's Alice," and then
she's the best. Yeah. It's the only home run I've ever hit is this child, and I love her so much. She teaches me I'm capable of more.
He said, wearing his, I can't read what's on your cap.
Girl dad.
Oh, girl dad.
Girl dad hat.
I was expecting your sports team or whatever, but I was going orange and black. Is it Giants?
This is my sports team.
Yeah.
This is my sports team. This is who I root for the most.
Team Girl Dad. Yeah.
Okay, Larry, goal.
Okay, I thought of this after you brought this up, so I've got to use a prop for my prop. So
be careful, gorgeous.
Especially the last 10 years, like the fandom world I grew up in, like I said, was all about the philosophy of that ship has sailed. In other words, it's on film. If it's something you love, these moods in fandom, all the way from fear to the anger and the hate and the weirdness and all of that. And when it's sincere, when it's not somebody getting paid, when it's sincere, it's frustration. And then because it's people with the thing they love, and they're worried about something being changed, or the next generation of IP holders changing it, and they're afraid of that. And if it goes too long, it turns dark. It goes anger. So which is weird because in the beginning we were fixing mistakes, and that was just part of Trek, because it happened. It's a human endeavor. Things happen. So these last 10 years have been kind of brutal, and it's all amplified with social media, and I get that. But here's my goal. I did a podcast for 2 years with a psychologist, Dr. Ali Matu, who's a big geek, and we called it Life Support Live, and it was every Saturday at 10 a.m. for 2 hours. And I'm so proud of that, because we worried about things besides, your cuff braid is more than 1 1/8 inches in from the edge of your sleeve. I mean, we talked about people and Trek in mental health. But here's the thing, just very generically. The next time, whatever it's Trek or Wars or whatever you're watching, that's your passion place, or even reading, but usually it's visual. When you're watching it and something comes along and you go, oh my God, how did they do? What that is so stupid. No, that's not. Next time you get all wound up and wet your pants about something they have done wrong, take a breath and just say, okay, I can either be all wrapped up about this. I can go on and on about this for 5 or 10 or 20 years, the rest of my life. Or you can say, hey, that might just be the exception that proves the rule. That might just be the diamond in the rough. That might just be something that's the comedy in the drama. That's the drama in the comedy, or something that brings texture so that this little universe, the storytelling that you love so much, is not just plastic poured out of a mold. It's got its rough spots. And maybe that diamond in the rough, maybe that's the oyster, the sand in the oyster that makes the pearl. Maybe that's going to grow into a whole new thread that you didn't even think about, that mistake. So that's one of my hashtags. I call that texture, not trivia. So if it's really got your goat and you think, oh my God, they've made something wrong, they've screwed that up, maybe take it and run with it and see. That might be the plan anyway. But even if it's not, but the makers, but even if it's not, it'll give you some serenity. Maybe it'll make you sleep easier. And maybe if you really care that much, it'll send your mind off on a whole new creative slant. And you don't have to sit there and curse the thing you love.
Isn't that how we got Indiana Jones? Was Spielberg wanted to make a Bond film and they didn't let him, so he said, okay, I'm going to create my own pulp hero kind of Bond-ish thing, and he got Indiana Jones, which is the joke in The Last Crusade, because he cast Indiana Jones as his father for the most part. And that's how you find out, like
James Bond.
James Bond. Spielberg supposedly didn't get a James Bond, just like the creator of Mario designed an entire Popeye game and was like, we're going to sell it to the arcades. It's going to be awesome. He's going to be climbing girders and attacking Bluto, who's kidnapped Olive Oil, and he didn't get the license. So he reskinned it, and now we have a Mario Brothers. It's pretty amazing.
And a whole fandom behind that. Game.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that story.
Easily bigger than Popeye at this point.
Yeah.
Started as a Popeye game.
Way bigger.
Started as a Popeye arcade game and wasn't able to secure the license.
People under 20 might not even know who Popeye is.
Okay, that's kind of wrong.
Sorry.
Just had the course. I think course correction, like Larry, course correction is, like what's the statistic that when we first landed on the moon, if you believe that stuff? No, if we first landed on the moon in 1969, like how long was that flight on the? Thank you for that. How long was that flight on its actual mathematically programmed route? I think it was in the teens.
Way over time.
Percentage. Yeah. It was course correction, communication, course correction, and I think that's what creating is, and that's what. Guys, that's what life is, through our favorite prism of pop culture.
I was going to say, that could even work when it's passion, not life and death. It can be
absolutely passion. Passion's the fuel, baby,
and lead you to a whole new realm that you had no idea about.
You actually will not hit the realm that you aim for. Mm-mm. If we're talking goals, you're not going to end it. Like, spoiler, everybody listening, you're not actually going to get to your goal.
Because whatever it is that you do get will be wonderful.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. You can't actually envision what your goal was. Like, you can't envision it, because by the time you get there, you will be a different person that set off on that journey, right?
And the world around you will have evolved too.
That's why you must.
How were any of us to know that podcasting would have been a thing when we were setting our goals when we were younger?
Well, I started in 2005, so I knew.
You were born in 2005?
That's amazing, because when Trek blew up in 2005 on every front, I was like, what do I do now? What do I do now? And it took 10 years, feels like, for me, for the tech to catch up to. Now I go, oh, I wish I'd started 10 years earlier. And it's like, well, I couldn't have. This didn't all exist then.
Within 2 months, Kevin Smith sent me an email and said, what is this? What are you talking about? And I was like, well, we're fans, and this is a podcast. And he came on within a week. And he still says, you're the guy who got me into podcasting. And I said, well, Kevin, Clerks, Richard Linklater by extension, because Clerks was him seeing Richard Linklater Slacker and saying, I can make a movie. And he made Clerks. Seeing Clerks was like, oh, dude, you can make a film. And like, you can tell stories and you can do this. So this is all attainable. This guy's in New Jersey. He's making these movies. And I'm super grateful to Kevin for that stuff. And it's incredible. Just incredible, guys. And again, you will never know that is where you're going to end up. In YOLO, baby, just take that first step. I think of that Aragorn meme where he charges at Mordor and goes YOLO and runs off. Doesn't you guys know the meme? It's from Return of the King. It's a shot of Return of the King, and the internet has put YOLO on it, and it's Aragorn going YOLO and running towards Mordor in the last Jackson movie, because we don't count the Hobbit. And we do. We have to count the Hobbits.
I am so glad I only delve into one, franchise. I can watch anything else and have this distance, and then just kind of like laugh at all the because everything else is so intense with Trek, but that's fine. So I'm enjoying the
discussion with her. I'm gonna have to have the discussion with her one day about gaming and Harry Potter and how we got to pick our way through those fandoms.
You won't know which one she picks, though.
Won't know which one she picks.
It's on her.
Because she might like dinosaurs and become a paleontologist.
Oh my God, that'd be so amazing. And
but
then
who
she
knows where your personal world, her world, and the world at large will be in 5 or 10 years, or 15 or 20.
Well, the things we're doing now did not exist when most, if not all of us, were in school.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Hi, Minnie.
Generation Xer, we got to watch. It changed from an analog to a digital world.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're kind of better for it because we've got that realm of knowledge from the before times that we could bring into the future times.
I still know how to use a phone that's a rotary phone. I know how to do that.
You notice I'm just piggybacking with you guys, so that's
yes.
Guys,
I know.
BBSs and adventure games. Oh my God! Like Monkey Island is still my favorite franchise. Like all those adventure games and BBSs and dialing up modems. Oh my God, I love that internet.
Go back even further. At LA Times Festival of Books, one of my friends was like, "Look what I got," and it was one of those choose your own adventure books.
I love
where you would go to a different page. I mean, talk about analog life.
I loved choose your own adventure books. Oh my gosh, they were so much fun.
There were some licensed Trek young adult choose your own adventure books.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
I feel like we could talk all day, but maybe we already have. I cannot tell you how grateful I am to each and every one of you for choosing to spend Star Wars Day with me. What final thoughts? Oh wait, we just got a question. Are you guys excited about the new Toho Godzilla cinematic universe, aka Godzilla World, happening? And also excited about Star Wars Day today. Okay, we've got some nodding. So thank you.
Yay.
Thank you, Jordan. Is it Balin? For watching and commenting. And again, thank you for Pam and Jay, and I think Jorge was here earlier. All of you fans, whether you're watching now or the replay or listening, you don't even have to watch to the enthusiasm is like dripping out of this podcast. What final thought do you want to leave people with today? Jonathan, final thought?
I think it just goes back to the motto we have over at Geekscape, which is don't hate, create. It's all, you're exhausting your energy. And so which of the two wolves do you want to feed? You want to feed the one that creates something in the world, and creation is a sign of hope, right? Like you want to find your way towards Larry's Star Trek future. And And absolutely, I'm excited about Toho's Godzilla universe. And I don't really mind the Warner Brothers universe either, do I, sweetie? Like, I just watched a little bit of Monarch last night. Like, I'll take kaiju in any form, period. I'm a huge kaiju fan. That's Geekscape. I like all of them.
Okay, and you know what? I forgot. I got so excited. I forgot to ask you, where can people learn more about you all? Jonathan?
I'm annoying.
Geekscape.
Just search for Jonathan London. Yeah, it's Geekscape.net is where you can find all of our podcasts. Mine is the flagship Geekscape, which is probably like 15th ranked on the network at this point because there's so many great podcasts that we brought up. I love that there's some really popular podcasts on our network that people are like, oh, I listen to this one show. I was like, that's one of ours. They're like, what? So Geekscape's mine. I do it as much as I can. We make comics now, but I love you, Ophelia. But just find me on the socials. Search for Jonathan London, Geekscape, some combination of that, and you'll probably find my Instagram or my Threads or my Facebook or any of that stuff. But I really gave you a lot today. You really want more of this, people?
Yeah, actually, we kind of sort of do. I'm still semi-obsessed with coming up with a pop culture food podcast for you.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
That'd be really fun.
I'm working on it in my head.
I will eat everything.
It is literally moving up on the priority list. The longer we talk online, I'm like, ooh, playtime.
It's making me salivate because most of what I've been eating recently is whatever she drops on the floor.
Yeah, that would also be an interesting cooking show from what she's got on the floor.
Oh, you don't want to eat that? And I paid for it.
What's she been dropping today? Yeah. What's her name? Keisha?
Ophelia.
What's Ophelia been dropping today on the floor?
What is Fifi's latest thing that she threw?
Yeah.
Larry, where can people learn more about you?
Okay. LarryNemecek.com is my site, although it needs a refresh. The best may be the YouTube channel, Larry's Trekland. So that's where everything fresh and recent has been coming. So all those things I talked about, my Tuesday Trekland live show and Second Opinion with Dr. Trek when there's fresh Trek happening, and Cadet Alice and I watched Prodigy. And then on the socials, just Larry Nemecek. I'm on Blue Sky and Twitter. I haven't given up on it, and the old things, Facebook and Instagram. And I'm over at Trek Culture too. But if I didn't mention my Trek tours that I do, the Trekland Treks, if you're interested into the younger gens are all about experience, not souvenirs. So if you want to go to Trek location sites with all the stuff, the knowledge about it, and then have a fun
Jonathan
day.
Yes, please.
Your wrangler, your chauffeur, your concierge, whatever. It's pre-planned, and then on the day when you're in LA. So that's a fun thing that I did because I have the archive over here, and people enjoy that. Vasquez Rocks for the Gorn fight and so much more, or Starfleet Academy and all of that stuff. So that's fun too. But anyway, just Google Larry Nemecek, and I should be there somewhere.
Okay, and what is your final thought, Larry? And then we'll get Candace's everything.
Oh, my final thought. I was ready for the thing. I just have a sign off that I came when this whole era started 10 years ago or something, and I felt like Walter Cronkite or everybody had a sign off, and I just came up with it's on here too. I just came up with Trek Well, because the Star Trek is optimistic enough, even when despite what some aspects of fandom and trolls have done the last 10, 15 years, it's generally a optimistic, forward-looking, whether it's looking at hope or just personal fun or what, the geekiness, whatever. And that's what I said a minute ago. Just if something's really made you upset with what's supposed to make you happy, just
run with it.
Take a breath. Yeah, take a breath. Look at it and step back. Look at the meta of it, and figure out how you can take that and make it positive. So I just say Trek Well.
Love it. Okay, Candace, where can people learn more about you? And final thought.
So, KandasRodarte.com is probably the best place to learn more about me. And then the only social I really do is Threads, and it's at Gratitude Geek. And I'm very feral on Threads, so be prepared.
Warning.
Where is Gary? And if you're on Threads, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay.
And my final thought is, I'm going to steal this from Jonathan. He said it before we went on air. Never give up. Never surrender.
Ooh,
I love
very
that phrase.
also
Mhm.
very positive, right? Because isn't that what we're here for, is to look at life and say, hey, life, you think you got me? Guess what? I am, first of all, so appreciative to the three of you for joining me today. I'm Debra Eckerling. You can find me. I'm at the Deb Method everywhere. And if you go to thedebmethod.com/blog, you will get the recap, good luck me, and the replay links. And also, I am live every Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And what else? If you need help with your goals, grab a copy of your goal guide and/or 52 secrets for goal setting and goal getting. And if you need help getting that book out of your head into a proposal and into the hands of the people who need to read it, like publishers, agents, get it out in the world. You can learn more about that at thebookproposalexpert.com. In the meantime, I think we all agree your life, your choice. Science fiction means anything and everything is possible. So I say yes. Absolutely. I say not only yes, but yes, please. So whatever you want to create in life, whatever fandom you want to be an advocate for or create, go on out there, go for it, because we know you can do it. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah,
Thank you.
and live long and prosper. A happy Star Wars Day, week, and month.
Right. Take
Thanks,
it easy.
everyone.
Trek well.
Bye, guys.
And a trek well.